Yes, good evening and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live edition, another live broadcast on your favorite sports updates. We're a bit late. Apologies on that. We should have gotten this one underway at around 11, sharp. But it's been that kind of day, if I'm being honest, really, where things have not perfectly aligned. I've sat long and deeply thought about this particular broadcast. If I'm being honest, a part of me didn't want to do it because of the current mood within the football fraternity. You know, following the passing of Liverpool star in Diogo Jota at only the age of 28 years old. And to say it's been difficult is an understatement, if I'm being honest, really. But yeah, I figured at least let's get on, pay more tribute to the fallen football star, to the fallen football hero. He didn't just fall alone. It was with his brother, and and things of that nature, really. So it's been that kind of day, if I'm being honest, really. It's been slow for me. I've been trying to digest the news in regards to what it means to his family, like his parents, his wife, who he had only wedded about 11 days ago, and things of that nature. So it's a double loss for his parents. It's an even bigger loss for his wife, and things of that nature, really. So anyway, it's been, I've been lost for words for the better part of it. I know we did a broadcast earlier on in the day. For those of you that managed to catch it, again, we spoke about, Diogo Jota, his life, how he started football and things of that nature. So, no sound. There is sound. Allow me to test tips. Sorry. There should be sound. There should be sound. Dopey Monkey. Hi, Dopey Monkey. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Cedric. Okay, back on. Good. Okay, maybe because I kept quiet for a moment, just to dedicate a moment of silence. If you guys would indulge me, can we dedicate a moment of silence for the fallen Liverpool player in Diogo Jota? That's if you guys say we should do it, then we can do it. Do let me know in the comment section. If you think we should do it, just let me know. Let me know down in the comment section, and then we'll do it. So yeah, let me know where you're joining us from. What country, what region, what time is it? How did you hear about the Diogo Jota news? Did it rub you in any way? And that kind of thing. So yeah, if you think we should dedicate a moment of silence for him, do let me know. At 10:29 p.m. in France. Oh, that's Cedric. Wow. Okay. Here it's exactly 1 hour ahead of that. So it's 11:29 p.m. Here in Uganda, Kampala, where I'm coming to you live from, in the Uganda's capital. So thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel. But also like this broadcast. Do let me know where you're joining us from. Let's engage. It's a sports channel. It's a football channel. And we are going to be talking about the passing of Liverpool star Diogo Jota. How do you say hello in Luganda? Cedric. Wow. In Luganda, we say Oriotia. But Oriota is how are you? It's more like how are you? Oriota, how are you? But that's usually it's the normal greeting, Oriota, in Luganda. That's the local language. But thanks for asking. You're the first person to ask me to say something in my native language. So, but yeah, thank you for joining, for being with us. So it's been that kind of day. It's been a bit slow ever since I received the news of the passing of Diogo Jota. Uh, I struggled to come to terms with it because of one, being the football fanatic that I am, but also what it means to the larger context of the football fraternity, and not then what it means for Liverpool fans, what it means for Portugal, what it means for his family, what it means for Liverpool, and things of that nature, really. So I've been trying to process it all throughout the day. His departure is on all headlines here in the evening. I mean, that's really pretty much expected. He did pass on with his brother Andre Silva, who was about what he was his young brother, so they crashed together in the car. From what the reports suggest is that the tire, one of the tires of his Lamborghini, is what exploded or burst before, while they were trying to overtake at the same time, and then the car veered off the road, and that's how they ended up, crashing terribly, and then the car caught fire. You say there is a female soccer Euro Championship at the same time, but all news on his death so young. Indeed, at the age of 28, is so young. Really, that's the Euro Championship for the women is taking place, and they also did pay tribute. I've been seeing photos from the Bayern Munich team. They did pay tribute to him before they started their training in preparation for their quarterfinal game in the FIFA Club World Cup. That game is equally, gets underway. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Against PSG. So they did pay tribute. Chelsea did the same, and all other sporting personalities. There's been, a huge pouring of tributes for Diogo Jota and his brother. But although now, unfortunately, in the wake of his death, because of his attachment to the Premier League and sort of his name, his brand as a person, but also being a Liverpool player, all headlines, all news has primarily focused on him. Some do mention his brother more like a footnote, and yet he also perished in the same accident, which is quite unfortunate. You can only sit and think for a moment what this means for his, his parents, losing two sons at the same time, what it means for his wife, who he had only wedded 11 days ago. That was around June 22nd. For his three little kids. I've seen photos of them from the wedding, from the time when they were celebrating with him the triumph of the Premier League title just in May with Liverpool, and things of that nature. So you try and process it as a human being, and you sort of struggle to come to terms with it. But it is the nature of life, unfortunately. But it does hurt quite a bit. You say, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but when things like that happen, there is no partisanship. Indeed. Now, while you and I agree that when such things happen, there's no partisanship, unfortunately, there are people out there who sort of have taken this moment for themselves to try and make a mockery of it, for lack of a better word. But it is the nature of life. It is the nature of society. While you're sorrowing in grief, somebody out is celebrating. Cedric, if you do not mind me asking, what team do you support particularly? So it's that kind of thing, really. So his brother also passed on in the same car crash. Of course, he was born on 4th December 1996 and started his footballing career at Pacos de Ferreira in Portugal, moved to Atletico de Madrid in 2016, then was loaned out to FC Porto, then loaned to Wolverhampton Wanderers, helped them, earn promotion from the Championship to the Premier League, and then they signed him permanently. I think that was in 2018, played there, I think, for about 2 seasons, 2018, 2019, 2019-2020, and then he joined Liverpool in around September 2020 during that COVID period. So at Liverpool, he won the EFL Cup, or that's the English Football League Cup, also commonly referred to as the Carabao Cup, present day, and then also the FA Cup that was in 2022, of course under the charges of Jurgen Klopp, and then of course last season he won the Premier League title. He was part of that squad. He's one of those players who has been really, really a good footballer. Only that his career has sort of been disturbed by injuries. Cedric says an Arsenal fan and Athletic Bilbao fan. Wow, that's quite an interesting combination. For purposes of honesty and revealing, I'm equally an Arsenal fan, although I'm a football fan first. So for me, it's football first, then Arsenal, then Real Madrid, and then all the other teams will follow. Usually, I prefer I love the underdog in the game. But Athletic Bilbao, I mean, you're the first Athletic Bilbao I've had on the channel, really, if I'm being honest with you. So I wish we could divulge into Bilbao a little bit, or even Arsenal, but for a moment, let's first proceed with the news of Diogo Jota. So among the people, of course, Jurgen Klopp, the manager that signed him to Liverpool, did put out a tribute to him, and pretty much like most people, in moments like this, we are all lost for words, to say the least. He said, "This is a moment where I struggle. There must be a bigger purpose, but I can't see it. I'm heartbroken to hear about the passing of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre. Diogo Jota was not only a fantastic player, but also a great friend, a loving and caring husband and father. We will miss you so much. All my prayers, thoughts, and power to Rute. Rute is the wife, the kids, the family, the friends, and everyone who loved them. Rest in peace. Love." I mean, again, it's just difficult to think about, really. It's just difficult to think about. When you go online and you see the pictures from his recent wedding, the jolly moments. When you watch that, there's been a video clip from the wedding that has been making the rounds. When you watch that, and also after that feed, unfortunately, you also get to watch the one of the car crash scene, and in sheer contrast, you can't really reconcile the two things. It's really hard. It's that difficult, really, overall. And then, of course, his current manager in Arne Slot equally put out, a lengthy tribute. Unfortunately, I cannot read it out to you entirely, but I can pick out a couple of lines for you, because he said what to say. What can anyone say at a time like this, when the shock and the pain is so incredible? When the shock and the pain is so incredibly raw. I wish I had the words, but I know I do not. So, I mean, that clearly tells you the picture. All I have are feelings that I know so many people will share about a person, a player we loved dearly, and a family we care so much about. My first thoughts are not those of a football manager. They are of a father, a son, a brother, and an uncle. They belong to the family of Diego and Andre Silva, who have experienced such an unimaginable loss. So for me, that line really particularly stuck with me once I read it. The part where he says, "My thoughts are not those of a football manager. They are of a father, a son, a brother, and an uncle, and they belong to the family of Diego." So really, if you're a father, if you're an uncle, if you're a brother, you can really, really put yourself in those shoes and imagine that kind of situation, really. So I leave his tribute at that. But those were some of the words that Arne Slot, put out in his lengthy tribute. So again, as soon as I received the news, as I tried to digest the news, it took me back. First of all, it was a difficult, a humbling reminder about the passing of Kobe Bryant. That's the NBA player who Again, much like Diogo Jota, we only know these people from a distance because we get to watch them on our screens, and yet somehow we feel a connection with them. That their loss or their passing really hurts that much. But also it brought me back memories on the football side of Emiliano Sala. Sorry, yes, Emiliano Sala, who passed on in January 2019 in a plane crash as he tried to complete his transfer from FC Nantes to Cardiff City. We all remember that. It took me back to May 2017 when Ismail Chak passed on after collapsing in training with Beijing Enterprises in China at the age of 30 only, really. So those memories did come back, and it was quite unfortunate to think about. It took me back to 2023. To February 2023, when Christian Atsu passed on following that terrible earthquake in Turkey. It also took me back to 2003, although my conceptualization of the age of the game was not that much, but it took me back to June 2003 when Mark Vivian Foe passed on. Remember, he did play for Manchester City. He played also in France, and he passed on, on the 26th of June, 2003. That's Mark Vivian Foe, to the extent that his jersey number 23 was, rested at Manchester City. So that in that kind of context, really, you say I can't remember the name of this African player who passed away during international match was also shocking at the time. A Nigerian or Cameroon? Yes, that's a player we have been mentioning, Mark Vivian Foe. Yes, I think that's a player you're trying to refer to. He was a Cameroonian international. He did play for Manchester City during the course of his career. He also played for Canon Yaoundé. He played for RSC Lens in France. He played for West Ham United, as well as he also played for Lyon. And then it was during that time between 2000 and 2003 when he was a Lyon player that he had made a loan move to Man City. So he also passed on at the age of 28 years only. So I mean, death is cruel, life is precious, but death is a cruel reminder of how fragile life can be. That in one moment, when you come to think of it, that just yesterday he was up and dancing, celebrating life, enjoying his honeymoon as having been a newlywed and that kind of thing. And then here we are speaking about him as now a fallen hero. So it's been really, really difficult to digest, to take in. But I do commiserate with the entire football fraternity, with the Liverpool fraternity, with the Portuguese national team, the well-wishers, and every minder of the game that is out there in the context of or in the wake of Diogo Jota and Andre Silva's passing leading into this morning. I thank you. That's how football shows shared humanity. No matter the country, we connect. Indeed, we connect. Football is what brings us together at the end of the day. Sometimes I sit here with the imagination of people that have been blessed enough to connect with from far between. People from India, people from the UK, people from France, USA, UK, Nigeria, South Africa, Turkey, and all Brazil, Italy, just because we get to sit here and talk about football together and have an engagement every other single day, morning, evening, afternoon, depending, and things of that nature. So the exchanges we have about this beautiful game, sometimes we agree, sometimes we do not, but I can't type for next minute, but I keep listening. Okay, I understand. So really, in that sort of context, is what sort of humbles me, is what gets me to speak in with this kind of tone. I would have loved to be a bit more energetic on this Thursday night, but that news of Diego Jota's passing, really didn't leave me well. If I'm being honest, it didn't leave me well. And about 190 appearances in the Premier League for both Liverpool and Wolverhampton Wanderers, scoring 63 goals. So he will be really remembered for a very long time. Anyways, unfortunately, that's the news. Unless there's anything that you think we've left out about Diego Jota, anything for players that have played with him, of course, they've equally paid tribute to him. Cristiano Ronaldo saying it was only yesterday, at least it feels that way, that we were together at the national team. Where he won, by the way, 2 major trophies. In 2019, they won the inaugural UEFA Nations League title, when they beat Netherlands, I think by 1-0. Then just a couple of weeks back, they beat Spain 5-3 on penalties that proceeded a 2-2 draw in normal time to win the UEFA Nations League again. And they were looking forward to being at the World Cup next year. So again, everything looked bright until it wasn't. So that's the kind of situation. Unless there's anything that you feel that I would not mention about Diogo Jota. Of course, we cannot exhaust all tributes. We cannot read all of them out. But at least we've highlighted some of those that have been key. If there's anything worth reading out to you guys, I'll equally read it out in the wake of that Diogo Jota news. And nonetheless, news from elsewhere in the footballing world has not stopped, streaming through, especially when it comes to transfers, when it comes to transfer speculation and things of that nature. So, like I said, that's the nature of life. As you commiserate, as you bask in your sorrow in wake of loss, life unfortunately does continue moving on for the rest of the world. And speaking for all the rest of the world, today Borussia Dortmund did confirm that they had reached an agreement with Chelsea for the transfer of Jamie Gittens. And now there's a bit of contrasting reports in regards to what the actual transfer fee is, but I think it was Ben Jacobs that tried to put out the actual figures in regards to that transfer, saying it's not actually 55 million pounds. He said there's a way he broke it. There's a way he broke it down. I'm trying to find it down. Yes, it's actually 48.5 million pounds with 3.5 million pounds in expected add-ons, bringing the total to about what, 52 million pounds. Yes, thereabout. That's according to Ben Jacobs. So do expect Chelsea to imminently announce, because Borussia Dortmund, in their statement, they said, that it was pending the finalization of, pending contractual details being finalized, because this was according to Borussia Dortmund's statement. They said Jamie Gittens is on the verge of a move to Premier League side at Chelsea. All parties involved reached an agreement on Thursday in Fort Lauderdale, that's USA. The contractual details now need to be finalized. Sebastian Kell says Jamie is an outstanding player who has given us a lot of joy. He now wants to take the next step in his career with Chelsea, and we wish him all the best, the very best, and much success. So those are the comments from the officials from Borussia Dortmund, confirming the the transfer of Jamie Gittens. And then while we're still on that, Newcastle did send in their second bid for 23-year-old Swedish international and winger in Anthony Elanga, the ex-Manchester United player. This new bid is worth about 55 million pounds, according to Fabrizio Romano. Negotiations are underway between the Magpies and Nottingham Forest to find, to reach an agreement. Remember, Newcastle were also interested in signing João Pedro from Brighton and Hove Albion, but Chelsea beat them to the punch. They were interested in signing Brentford's Brandon Mbeumo, but he has since communicated that his preference would be to join Manchester United over any other suitors that included Newcastle, that included Chelsea, Arsenal, as well as Tottenham Hotspurs, among the teams that were interested in the services of the 25-year-old Cameroon international. So they are now pushing really, really hard to try and sign Anthony Elanga. Reports do suggest that the ex-Manchester United player is open to joining the Magpies, enticed by the idea of playing in the UEFA Champions League there, which they did qualify for. So then they start. Then away, there's again news at Arsenal. Apparently, now this is speculation. I've seen a lot of news making the rounds about it, but I cannot dismiss it because partly a part of me was expecting that Arsenal would make an announcement either today or tomorrow for at least one more signing after announcing the signing of Kepa Arrizabalaga from Chelsea in a deal worth £5 million before he put pen to paper on a 3-year contract. Now this says Arsenal head of recruitment James Ells is set to become the club's new technical director. Ells, highly rated and had attracted interest from elsewhere, will stay in new role to support Andrea Bata. Are you a professional journalist, or you share your passion for football here? I'm not a professional journalist, but I've worked as a journalist before. I started journalism back in 2014. I was writing for a local blog. It was an entertainment blog which had a segment for sports. So that's when I began. That was in July 2014. That's when I started. I was writing, sports news for that website. After I wrote for them until the end of 2016, and then in April 2014, I also wrote for a website called freekick442.com, which then rebranded into freekick442.net. Then I also wrote for another website that was called BetRite, the word being BETRITE, BetRite.com. Those are some of the websites that I've written for sports news. So while I'm not professionally a journalist, I have practiced journalism, digital journalism to be very specific. So, and then, of course, life sort of took me in different directions here and there, as you know how things can be, until when I decided to quit it all and resign myself to sharing my passion for the game, but also from a professional point of view. That's why I acknowledge that although I'm an Arsenal fan, a Real Madrid fan, I can sit here and objectively talk about, other teams, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, among other teams. Our focus primarily on the channel is with the Premier League, but also we do bring you the latest from, other major leagues, across the world. Sometimes if there's worthy noting from our local scene, we will bring it out to light as well. So that's to answer I hope that answers your question, Cedric. I hope I've answered your question really, really well. So, there you have it. James Ellis will stay to support Andre Bata, which then takes us into Arsenal's pursuit for strikers. Now, recent reports have indicated. Now, I think this came out. I think it was on Tuesday when L'Equipe reported. I think yes, on Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, when L'Equipe reported that apparently Arsenal had reached an agreement on personal terms with Victor Gyökeres. Now, some people mistook that to be an agreement to be between to be club to club. So that club to club agreement is not yet in place between Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon for the transfer of the 27-year-old Swedish striker. So, but reports do suggest that Arsenal have made some significant progress in their pursuit for Victor Gyökeres. That's according to Sami Mokbel with BBC Sport. He says Arsenal are believed to have made progress on a potential deal for Victor Gyökeres in the recent days. You got this background. Indeed, one can feel it. Expertise, vast knowledge. Thank you so much, Cedric. Thank you so much for your kind feedback. So, yes. And then in regards to Benjamin Sesko, actually, today, yesterday I was planning to do a video today to put up on the channel in regards to Arsenal having cooled down their interest in Benjamin Sesko. Now, the reason as far as I wanted to do that video emanates from some of the sources that I've been reading, and sort of I'm inclined to believe them for certain reasons, because if I don't know if you've noticed, but there seem to be a drop down in the news are coming through about Arsenal's password for Benjamin Sesko. And the reason for that while Edu Gaspar Dawood and Jason Aito, while they were still at Arsenal, laid a good foundation in terms of relationships between, Benjamin Sesko and RB Leipzig. Arsenal have sort of been off-put by, RB Leipzig's demands, especially when it comes to the financial terms of the transfer of the player. One, there were reports that his release clause is in the excess of 80 million euros. Some sources would cite 83 million euros, while others say it is possibly higher than that, and things of that nature. But then also, Arsenal are reluctant to pay that kind of fee. They were hoping to negotiate, but also, even in the work of negotiations, apparently the amount of money that, or the terms of payment that RB Leipzig would want seem to be unfavorable to the Gunners in their assessment of things. There's an apparent report that RB Leipzig do expect that release clause to be paid as a wholesale. And that's, I do not want to say it's feasible, but it's a bit difficult, especially when when teams are, trying to spread their wings in the transfer market. Because usually what happens, for example, if a club says, okay, if a club has, let's say, a transfer budget of about 200 million pounds or 300 million pounds within a transfer window, usually it is premised on a number of projections and expectations. For starters, they'll have, if the budget is around 300 million pounds, you could find that for cash at hand, they have maybe about 100 million pounds or even 80 million pounds. And then they hope to go and negotiate for all these sorts of players by saying, okay, we'll pay for this player in installments. And that's how they get deals done. And that's how clubs get to sign players of 100 million pounds, another 50, another 40 or 20 million pounds within the same window, while working with an actual budget of 100, with cash at hand of 100 million pounds, because they've been allowed to pay maybe the player they are signing maybe for 100 million pounds, they've been allowed to pay maybe just 30 million pounds up front, and then the other will come in, installments, and like that. During this course of the window, or summer transfer window, I've usually made reference to the Liverpool negotiation with Bayer Leverkusen, because they did reach an agreement with Bayer Leverkusen to pay the release clause of Jeremy Frimpong, which is 35 million euros. But that agreement says that they will pay that money across 3 installments over a period of 3 years. So, which means that Liverpool do not necessarily need to get all their 35 million euros and pay it as a wholesale. So, when it comes to paying release clauses, usually that's why clubs are reluctant to pay release clauses that are not flexible. For example, Manchester United did agree to pay Matthias Cunha's release clause from Wolverhampton Wanderers. We all know it's 62.5 million pounds, payable over 3 installments. That means you get to pay about maybe 20.5 million pounds in every installment, and by the iteration, and maybe on another occasion you pay 21, and then you finish in 3 installments. So when you meet a club like RB Leipzig, the way it is being alluded to, that they want that money paid in a wholesale, then it becomes a bit difficult. And this takes me again to a different conversation regarding Barcelona and their pursuit for Athletic Bilbao, and I hope and their pursuit for Nico Williams of Athletic Bilbao. And I hope Cedric is still here with us, because one, Athletic Bilbao are not convinced that Barcelona have the financial capacity to pay their release, Nico Williams' release clause in one go. That's for starters. Two, if indeed Barcelona are capable of paying that, they question whether they are complying with the financial fair play rules, which compelled Athletic Bilbao to have a conversation with La Liga to say, if Barcelona were to sign Nico Williams, are they actually able to register him and he plays? Because we know in the recent times, Barcelona have struggled to register players. We saw it when they signed Sergio Kun Aguero as a free agent when he had left Man City. We've seen it with Dani Olmo and a couple of other players. So there's that lingering question whether Barcelona have the financial room, one, to pay his release clause, because Athletic Bilbao are not willing to negotiate on that release clause, on the payment terms for that release clause. They do want that money paid in one go, which is reported to be about 58 million euros. So let's wait and see on that. Then two, that also partly explains why apparently Bayern Munich are waiting around to see if Barcelona fail to complete a deal for Nico Williams, then they can swoop in and sort of try and sign Nico Williams, because they had already expressed their interest in signing him. They had had initial talks with the player's agent. They had had 2 meetings. They had, started contract terms, talks over, salary, and apparently he had demanded a fee in the region of 20 million euros as gross pay per season, which Bayern Munich were willing to offer, something like that. So those talks had started, and before Barcelona came back into the picture. You say when it comes to financial fair play, PSG, Barcelona, Real Madrid are the bad players. I think I would add Manchester City to that list. Then, while Chelsea have been praised for their smartness in regards to how they've gone about the transfer business, but when you look at the overall financial outlay, you can't help it tilt your head and think maybe, just maybe, somehow, somewhere, they could be getting away with it. Now, I cannot say definitively that they are flouting the rules. I can't say with absolute certainty. But the manner in which they've been able to conduct business in the last 2 or 3 years makes it a bit questionable, because we, on the other side, have all these other clubs or big clubs that seem to be struggling. Look at Newcastle. Once they got, acquired by their Saudi, rich people, we all know that it wasn't, the Saudis saying, okay, we'll inject in 300 million pounds and you go and sign whichever players you want, because they have to abide by the profit and sustainability rules of the Premier League. They have to abide by the, financial fair play rules that do apply to teams that play in UEFA competitions. And we do know that last season, but one, Newcastle were playing in the UEFA Champions League, and next season they're going to be playing in the same competition. So there's that left them with little room to wiggle with when it came to transfers. Now, this summer, they are in a much better position, because you remember they were forced to sell players like Yankuba Minte to try and stay on the right side of the rules. Then they had considered letting go of Anthony Gordon. He was destined for a potential move to Liverpool, although at the final hour they decided against it, I think, and then that's how Yankuba Minte went to, Brighton and Hove Albion. There's another player that made the transfer, but he seems to have fallen off my fingertips. So when it comes to these clubs, there's that feeling that, they are really getting away with breaking the rules. Look at Manchester City. The reason as why I cite them is because they do have 115 charges brought against them for a period dating between, I think, 2009 and 2018 for breaches of financial fair play rules and profit and I think financial fair play rules to be more particular. So, and yet every now and then you'll hear that maybe Arsenal are being too cautious with their spending because they do not want to overspend and be caught up by the financial fair play rules. We know what's happening with Aston Villa. They've had to sell their women inside to try and bring money on their books, because Chelsea opened that can of worms by selling their women inside to literally themselves for 200 million pounds. and then they went and sold their car parks for about 70 million pounds to raise 270 million pounds. Had it not been for that, Chelsea were destined to be in limbo when it comes to PSR issues. So, and that kind of thing really. So to revert back, this whole conversation emanates from the fact that apparently RB Leipzig wants Arsenal to pay Benjamin's release clause in one go, which led us to the conversation about Barcelona and their pursuit for Nico Williams. And I don't know if you've noticed, whether you've noticed, but Barcelona agreed to personal terms with Nico Williams weeks ago. In fact, according to the agreement, his gospel would be about 12 million euros per year, so if they have already agreed on personal terms, the question is, why have they not, moved up to Atletico Bilbao and paid the 58 million release clause and get their player? It's because they are trying to, one, figure out whether they will be able to register the player. That's one. Whether they do have the financial resources to actually pay the whole release clause in a go. Now, Barcelona president Joan Laporta has come out to say that if they want something, they'll find a way to achieve it in the transfer market. But because of that kind of relationship, one, Atletico Bilbao do not want to strengthen their opponents. If they were to sell, which they do not want to sell, they would prefer to sell to a foreign club, the way Bayer Leverkusen had wanted when it came to Florian Wirtz, and they got it their way when they sold to Liverpool, as opposed to selling to Bayern Munich. So there's also that as a factor. Two, we're talking about an Atletico Bilbao side that has literally already approached La Liga to say these guys could be flouting the rules. So there's that bit of a fast relationship. But before it came to that, apparently Barcelona had wanted to approach Bilbao and negotiate on the payment structure for Nico Williams. So Bilbao are saying it's either his release clause or we won't be taking anything. So that's the bit when it regards to release clauses and why there's this school of thought that the Benjamin Sesko deal has bit of stalled. And according to Sami Mokbel of the BBC, says there have been indications in recent days that Arsenal have focused attention on other targets. The impasse with Sesko could of course be a strategic ploy from the Gunners to see if we will accept what to them would be more favorable terms. Either way, Arsenal are understood to have made headway in their move for Eucharist in recent days. So I hope that paints for you the whole picture in the way we are trying to make it. Bilbao has a policy to hire only players that are either Basque ethnicity or emerged in the club as a young player. That's a good answer. That's a good answer to many dictatorship in football, but players can also leave depending on their own career plans. Yes, I certainly do agree with you. They only sign players from the Basque region, and usually they develop their own players, but also when they sign from domestic clubs, nearby clubs, and also they don't sign them quite expensively. And yet over the years they've been selling players quite expensively. Now that explains why signing Atletico Bilbao players sometimes is a bit difficult, because they are I am ethnically part Basque. Okay, that's good. So that explains why Athletic Bilbao players are usually on high wages in comparison to what would pass for mid-table teams when it comes to the Spanish La Liga. Again, teams like Arsenal and Chelsea have all, in recent years, dating far back to last summer after the Euros 2024, have been interested in the services of Nico Williams. But one of the off-putting factors, or a factor that has caused a reluctancy in either of those clubs firming up their interest in the 22-year-old Spanish international, has been an issue with his wages, because he is on really good wages with Athletic Bilbao. Why? Because these are players that come through the ranks of the club. These are players, if signed, are not signed quite expensively, and that kind of thing. So one of the ways to entice them to stay at Atletico Bilbao or to play for Atletico Bilbao is putting them on really, really good wages. So they've been managing to do that. And over the course of time, they've remained a fairly well competitively good team. And the reason as to why I, I fell in love with Bilbao, it was for selfish reasons. And this dates far back to 2011, 2012, when they beat up against Manchester United in the UEFA Europa League, home and away, by 3 goals to 2 and 2 goals to 1. When Manchester United had been in the UEFA Champions League in the same group with Benfica, FC Basel, and another small team that I've forgotten. So Man United finished third, and they fell to the UEFA Europa League. And when they came down, they met Athletic Bilbao, who were at the time under the charges of Marcelo Bielsa, who literally schooled Sir Alex Ferguson. Those guys played brilliant football. Fernando Llorente, Oscar Di Marcos, Ander Herrera, Ika Munain, those were some of the players in that squad. That's how I fell in love, in part, with Athletic Bilbao at the time. So Cedric says, even people, okay, you said that's why I support Bilbao since childhood. Even people who do not care about football have a vibe for the club. I wish you can go someday to San Mamés Stadium. Hopefully, only the future could tell. I have to go. I'm impressed by your knowledge. You definitely should gain more popularity here. Subscribed, liked. Thank you so much, Cedric, for sparing the time to be with us on tonight's broadcast. I do wish you the very best in your respective endeavors, and I hope that whenever you can spare a moment of time, you can join us. We are always here every single morning. For a morning broadcast, and then in the night for a late night podcast. You're usually starting at 11 p.m., which essentially would be around 10 p.m. In France. So that kind of time. And then usually we come on around 9 a.m. in the morning, which essentially means about 8 a.m. for you, and that kind of thing. But much appreciated. Thank you for the like. Thank you for the sub. Much really appreciated, and wish you the very best and a wonderful night ahead as you go on to your other plans. So that's the situation there with Arsenal and their pursuit for a striker. And but we do expect. See you next time. Thank you. So we do expect things to really take shape in the next 2 weeks. I do think as Arsenal players return for pre-season next week, and then prepare to go to Asia, where they will be going for pre-season, in which they will play AC Milan, they will play Newcastle, they will play Tottenham Hotspurs. That's 23rd July. Sorry, 23rd July they play AC Milan. Then on the 27th they will play Newcastle, and then on the 31st of July they will play Tottenham Hotspurs during the Asian tour. That's in Singapore, with the Tottenham game to be played, I think, in Hong Kong. So I think the next 2 weeks before the Arsenal do fly out for their Asian tour will be quite critical in understanding where Arsenal's primary focus will be, or who they will have zeroed down in regards to this whole striking situation, where they've been pursuing on all fronts when it comes to Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyökeres. That's my expectation, but let's wait to see if that expectation will indeed manifest itself in the transfer market. Pyramids coach Abel Ferreira on Estavao Willian facing Chelsea. We can expect from him his best. Maybe he can't score a goal to give our fans a goodbye. I hope he gives his best for the owners of Chelsea. He has potential and lots of quality. His move will be an opportunity for him to show how good he is. That's Abel Ferreira, the Pyramids coach, speaking about Willian Estavao. Now remember, Chelsea signed Willian Estavao, I think that was last summer, and left him out of loan at Pyramids, and he is going to be facing Chelsea. Blessings to you. Oh, okay, thank you. Blessings to you as well. So he's going to be facing Chelsea, who are going to be his bosses as soon as we are done with the FIFA Club World Cup. So that's his manager speaking glowingly of him. He is really a very beautiful, wonderful player to watch. I've watched him a couple of players. a couple of games, and he's been a standout player in every single game that I've watched him. Excuse me. So when it comes to that context, let's really, hope for the best. Now, while we are still at it, we may as well remind ourselves of what's to come in as far as the FIFA Club World Cup is concerned. Remember, it does resume tomorrow at the quarterfinals with Fluminense up against Al Hilal. That's at 10 p.m. East African time, while Chelsea will play against Pyramids at 4 a.m. That's leading to the morning of Saturday. And then on the same day, Saturday at 7 p.m., PSG will be up against Bayern Munich, while Real Madrid will be up against Borussia Dortmund. So do not miss out on that action coming your way during the course of the week. Then players will be rested for Sunday and Monday before returning on Tuesday. Before returning on Tuesday at 10 p.m. and on Wednesday at the same kickoff time for the semi-finals. And then, of course, the competition will climax on Sunday, the 13th of July in the United States of America. So we will keep tabs on that situation and keep you abreast with the latest from the FIFA Club World Cup as well. So that you do not miss out on any single thing when it comes to those updates from the new sort of version of the FIFA Club World Cup. Meanwhile, Samuel Ricci has completed his move from Torino to AC Milan in a deal worth 25 million euros. So that deal is as good as done and dusted. Then, still according to Sami Mokpe of BBC Sport, he does say that there are several clubs in Germany keeping eyes or keeping tabs on the situation with Kai Havertz heading into next summer when he will have 2 years left for his contract with, left with Arsenal. So, I mean, German clubs have always been interested in signing Kai Havertz. But remember, he left Bayer Leverkusen and joined Chelsea, and then from Chelsea to Arsenal. That was he left Chelsea in the summer of 2023. So, and before he joined Arsenal, Bayern Munich had wanted to sign him, although he preferred to stay in London, and that's how he ended up at Chelsea. Sorry, that's how he ended up at Arsenal after leaving Chelsea. But Bayern Munich were really seriously interested in his signature. Then, okay, we'll leave that at that, and maybe walk and see and look at the latest from the transfer gossip mail. Or okay, apologies. The transfer. Then, meanwhile, apparently Arsenal have been encouraged in their pursuit for Rodrigo Goes following his lack of game time at the ongoing FIFA Club World Cup. I mean, we've all witnessed it. He's not started in, I think, 3 of those games. Sometimes he's not even come off the bench, which apparently has left him a bit more frustrated with the manager. Now, some reports, according to Marca and The Athletic, they say Arsenal did have exploratory talks between themselves and Rodrigo Goes' camp for over a potential move. But we will see. And then, according to Mark, Real Madrid won't stand in Rodrigo Goes' way should he want a move away from the Santiago Bernabeu for as long as his transfer fee is made. Now, his valuation has fallen apparently still from 100 to 110 million euros to about 85 to 90 million euros in valuation because of those situations, because of his performance, which was far from convincing last season. But you can clearly understand because he prefers to play on the left wing as opposed to being played at the right wing. And yet, they already have Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe, all who prefer to play on that side. And then sometimes he had been played as a center forward, but now it looks like Xabi Alonso has unmasked the youngster in Gonzalo Garcia, who has scored 3 goals and provided an assist, I think, in those 4 games for Real Madrid at the FIFA Club World Cup. So, quite the revelation. So, there it is. Then, Then Atletico de Madrid will be apparently willing to pay up to 60 million pounds, or in the excess of 60 million pounds, to sign Christian Romero from Tottenham Hotspurs. Remember, he's their preferred choice for a centre back at the age of 27. Then quickly, of course, uh, then we've spoken about Newcastle's pursuit for Anthony Elanga. Then Real Madrid and manager Xabi Alonso are in agreement over the sale of Brazilian forward Rodrigo Goes, who has been linked with Arsenal if a suitable offer is made for the 24-year-old. That's according to the Athletic. Fenerbahce have made a 15 million euro offer for Paris Saint-Germain forward Marco Asensio, but the 29-year-old is waiting on the other options to emerge, with AC Milan and Villarreal all interested in the Spanish international's services. That's according to L'Equipe in French. Meanwhile, Como have agreed an initial 16.5 million fee for Celtic's German winger Nicolas Kahn, who is 25 years of age. That's according to Sky Sports. While Rangers are on the verge of completing a deal for Luton Town's Norway midfielder Thelo Asgard, 23 years of age. That's according to Daily Record. Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea are among the sides chasing AZ Alkmaar's 19-year-old Dutch midfielder Kees Smith. That's according to TBR Football. While Al Nassr could turn their attention to Arsenal's Brazilian winger Gabriel Martinelli after struggling to land their top target in Liverpool's Colombian forward Luis Diaz. Now, the other day, I think that was yesterday, at great length, we spoke about Luis Diaz and Liverpool, the situation at Liverpool. So, which is quite interesting because Liverpool have turned down to approaches from Barcelona and from Bayern Munich over the potential signing of the Colombian international, which means they do not want to sell. They see the player as an integral part of their future plans at the club, and yet there remains interest from Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, who will now turn their attentions to Gabriel Martinelli. Now, the situation with Gabriel Martinelli still is no different from that of Luis Diaz, is that Arsenal are not looking to sell him, but maybe could be tempted, apparently, when if a suitable offer were to come in. As an Arsenal fan, I would say, do not let go of Gabriel Martinelli, simply adding, another player there to provide competition. If I were to decide, I think I would be more inclined to let go of Leandro Trossard as opposed to Gabriel Martinelli. Speaking of Leandro Trossard, apparently Arsenal sporting director Andre Bata is growing frustrated with the the contractual demands of Leandro Trossard and his camp, and he could look to back out of those contract talks. Remember, Arsenal are looking to give Leandro Trossard an improved contract. Then Inter Milan and Netherlands defender, that's Denzel Dumfries at 29, has a 25 million euros release clause in his contract, which is valid until mid-July and can only be triggered by a non-Italian club. That's according to Calcio Mercato in Italy. Then Portuguese international Andre Silva, 21, has turned down a move to Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal, but the centre back is still expected to leave Benfica. That's according to Abola in Portuguese. While Arsenal have lost their under 21s manager, Met Ali, to Brentford. This one has joined Brentford to be part of Keith Andrews' coaching staff there. So that's some of the latest transfer speculation and gossip that has come at our desk during the course of the day. So keep your eyes peeled on the Football Tribe UG channel, and we'll labor to bring you the very latest from the world of sport. But like I said, today's biggest story has been none other than that of the passing of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva. Now, in the last couple of minutes, David Austin has also further reaffirmed, Newcastle's continued pursuit for Anthony Elanga by saying Newcastle pushing to secure the signing of Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest. New bid for the 23-year-old Sweden international worth more than 50 million pounds plus bonuses. Newcastle efforts to finalize a deal with Nottingham Forest ongoing, plus work also needed on player side. That means when they say work needed on player side, that means they are yet to agree on personal terms. Now we are talking about a player that left Manchester United for 15 million pounds to join Nottingham Forest. Just what? That was about 2 seasons ago, because he was around for Erik ten Hag's first campaign at Manchester United. Then anyways, so we've spoken about also Arsenal's interest in Belechi Eze. Apparently Arsenal wouldn't want or do not want to pay his release clause, which is about 68 million pounds. They want to pay a lesser fee if they are to sign him, and apparently Crystal Palace and Arsenal are now looking to complete a deal. Apologies on that, our network collapsed. Apologies on that, our network collapsed in the middle of our broadcast, but I hope you're still here with us. So what talking about, apparently Fabio Vieira is the name. Apparently Crystal Palace and Arsenal are now looking to complete a deal for Belechi Eze using a player swap deal plus additional funds, with Fabio Vieira being the name raised by Crystal Palace. The addition of him would bring a sum of only 40 million pounds for Eze. We will see if FC are willing to include a player. That's what. Now that's only a rumor. I cannot really tell you that it's as solid as I would love to hear it myself. Then okay. We will leave that at that for now. We'll leave that at that for now and look back on it later. But anyways, guys, it's been 1 hour of doing this. Allow me to wrap it here and wish you guys a blessed night. It's been a pleasure doing this with you, and thank you for those that managed to join us, and I pray that you do join us still tomorrow morning when we do come to you live and speak more sport. Otherwise, have yourselves a blessed night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.